to shine.
Exactly. I think he actually fills the Sejuani slot very well in terms of the type of team comp you'd want to pick for him. He's a strong enough early game champion. He has strong ganks, and he can be a big team fighter. And we get to see our first Yone, who a lot of people put as the most contested champion of the World Championship on their bingo cards because he was popping off towards the end of the LPL and the LCK playoffs.
Yeah, this is a champion that I think every single co-streamer, every single pundit on social media has talked about as probably the best option, right? In a world where there are very few AD options in mid lane, Yone just does so much for a team, synergizes incredibly well with the Sejuani pick as well. So the mid-jungle duo, assuming this is a mid-Yone, most likely option I imagine, really set up here for success on the side of paiN Gaming.
It is a pick that can be flexed. You will see the odd top Yone, but you're absolutely right. It is most likely going to be a mid lane pick. Got one game on it for paiN Gaming, but it was a much different meta throughout the regular season, so I would imagine this is likely a practice pick from scrims.
Rumble now going to get locked in as well. This was a champion that was hit a couple times with the nerf bat, expected to drop in priority, but is still going to be prioritized by PSG here. Some of that passive on-hit damage as well as the early Q damage reduced pretty
heavily.
Yeah, pretty heavily.
Pretty big nerf, and it honestly looks like PSG is just saying, let's keep on cruising, because Tristana was their most played mid laner throughout the regular season, tied with Corki. Rumble was their second most played top laner for Azhi. So they are a good pair, even if they've both been nerfed fairly heavily.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what the lane setup is going to look like here. Tristana, a champion who was obviously heavily targeted to the point where she even dropped out of mid lane in the middle of the AD carry meta, but perhaps there's a new spin on it. The Jax is locked in, so again, really excellent solo lane synergy for this side of paiN Gaming. So PSG can at least limit the jungle or support, or sorry, excuse me, support or AD pool here a little bit.
Yeah, I'd imagine Maple just really likes the matchup into Yone, so he's willing to play the nerf version of Tristana, and then Rumble is just a strong enough pair, and Azhi is just very confident on his ability to play against anything, because the Jax is basically instantly locked in by paiN to match the Rumble, if we do see standard lanes. That's
if we do, yeah, of course. Swap always there. We'll be interested to see, because right now we've seen one team do it, right? Which means there's probably other teams that have been scrimming it. It's usually never happening in complete isolation. We'll see if either of these teams join in, and if it's a greater trend for the tournament, as the Ziggs will be banned, the Varus, the Nautilus. Nautilus, of course, just generic kind of prio here. Interesting to see that ban prioritized over the Rell. Rell did get hit a little bit with the nerf hammer, not too much. But it seems like they feel like Nautilus the bigger threat to what they're trying to get done, and obviously nice with the Yone, because that ulti's gonna follow you back.
Absolutely will. I'm surprised. I'm just trying to look at these bans. Okay, we're gonna get probably Lucian Nami instead of engaged support like a Rell. I think that's generally correct, just because otherwise they kind of have 4 melee champions that all have to dive on top of a Skarner Rumble, which didn't really seem like it's possible. So they're gonna go with a little bit more range.
I mean, you could do it. They're just gonna ult you, and then they're both gonna push R, and then you're gonna die. But it's always on the cards. It's an option open to you, and now having the Rell locked in. Okay, so giving some good engage options here for PSG without it coming through in the top lane as much from the Rumble. Nice to have it in the support position, but does leave them open to some more aggressive options on the bottom side, some ranged options. Nami and Poppy both hovered. Lucian Nami obviously dropped out of popularity after a massive, massive tear, but is now back again. See how aggressive Titan and Kuri can be in this bottom lane 2v2.
I don't mind it actually in this case. I don't necessarily think that Lucian Nami is suddenly going to become the meta here at Worlds, but I just like their ability to have a little bit of extra range since everybody else on their team is so all in, and they have a fairly like self-sufficient range duo in the bot lane while everybody else needs to play flank. And then on the side of PSG, it is just a really well-balanced team composition, although it very much looks like a patch 14-16 team comp, not necessarily like a Worlds team comp, because all these champions you could easily see being played in their regional playoffs before the massive patches hit.
I think every single one of these champions, except for Skarner, was nerfed.
Yes.
This is literally a draft from a different patch, and it might still function. But these are the champions that I think everyone expected to fall out of meta, right? MF took small hits. Bloodthirster was nerfed a bit, which was her best first item.
In game 1 is a very respectable decision.
Definitely is. Of course, for this game, they're also not really showing us anything new. showing us something old in the context of a meta that has changed so much. At least shows that they're willing to play it, but perhaps there's even more waiting in their back pocket, depending on how this game 1 plays out. As JunJia, Cariok trading blows in the jungle. Well, not actually hitting each other, but at least fishing, looking for an angle. Surprisingly active level 1s in this first day of play-ins.
And I think we might see fairly active level 1s throughout the World Championship because you need to get information if lane swaps are on the table. So wherever you have a stronger, 1v1, 2v2, being able to push someone back and get a deep ward to actually scout the jungle is very important. So they're kind of thinking about getting that ward down, and that was a mistake because they've given away early vision and a cheeky little CS on a Sejuani.
That's 10 gold right there.
Well, it's a hair of experience as well. Yeah, so Jackson and Yone both got 1/3 of the ward's experience in that as well, which might be an earlier level 2. I'm not completely polished on how that matters.
On the third of third of a ward?
On like a third of a ward.
I know
what
the
ward.
Enough
to hit level 2 early?
Yeah, I know the ward, but the third of a ward is where I get a little
Basically,
lost.
every pro player in the world knows this, but currently I don't, so please tweet me or something. I want to know.
Yeah, good call out. Someone else will probably know it too. JunJia getting pushed back here
anyway, so it doesn't
in the
matter.
first levels. Yeah, one of the big things to note is there's no fleet on the side of Maple. Fleet obviously hit for ranged champions by pretty decent margins. Absorb Life also hit 2 nerfs designed to get 80 carries out of the mid lane, take away some of that safety that they were kind of guaranteed from runes overall.
Yeah, I love this triple lane cam. If anyone decides to get a little bit aggressive, I want to also see how well Maple can stay pushed in this lane because this is kind of why he would have picked the Tristana. He's going to like this matchup, I think, into the Yone. And then also just how does PSG deal with the Lucian Nami? Lucian Nami's not that big of a menace at like level 1. It's more about once they get a few items and a few levels under their belt.
Yeah, and MF very strong early on. Obviously, the kill pressure you're going to get with the Rell as well is something that has to be respected. Part of the reason you're seeing defensive sums come out from Kuri, right? It's the heal instead of something like an Ignite. They know that they don't have kill pressure. They know once they get that first item or support itemization, or even just a few more levels, they'll be a bit better equipped to trade. But early on, MF frustrating the lane against, backed up by some CC. Only making it worse is PSG getting this initial push out, and for now, things relatively quiet. Obviously, no super fast clearing junglers like the Nidalee, so for now, both junglers kind of on even pace.
I mean, in retrospect, we were spoiled by the lane swaps in the first series because they generated action nonstop.
That's true. People were fighting at like level 1 and 2 outside of lanes in random jungles, Jatt.
Now it's just standard lanes again, full clear into... Well, it's interesting that the junglers are on the same side of the map for a crab. And wow, they would have doped this if he didn't ward and was unaware, I think.
Okay, PSG, thank you production, 100% on all 5 of these champions through summer.
100% win rate.
100% win rate, I believe. Yeah, so...
They didn't lose many games for what it's worth. They have one of the highest...
They're very dominant, right?
If you look at the global power rankings like website, I think they have either one of the highest or the highest win rates of any team globally. Like they were so dominant in their actual region. Them and JunJia are going to be like the 2 teams with the highest win percentage throughout all of the year.
Look, both of them probably ready to take on BLG, so makes sense to me. Betty and Woody now finally getting pushed in. Of course, don't have their jungler here on the bottom side, so have to play with a little bit more respect. See what the options are. Early reset for Betty. One of the great things about MF, obviously the strut movement speed makes it easy to take a bit more bold resets to come back for those early additional bit of gold, early additional bit of sustain as Azhi take control of this lane.
Yep. Get that all the way into turret, crash it, and then usually you'd go for a reset here, but getting a little poke off as well. Maybe he wants to keep the Jackson lane. I mean, Wizer's already based and came back, whereas Azhi is still sitting on his starter arms, hasn't even had to use a health potion yet.
Wizer's still with TP though. I would imagine he got the cheater recall off. Hard to say for certain, but definitely needs to respect the potential for Sejuani to get involved here.
Yeah. We also have a delayed swap, so paiN had a good reset timer. They're definitely way up on tempo at the moment.
Moving on.
Good ward though.
Fortification falling
Lucian
off
too.
at 5 minutes. Spotting Lucian is big. Now that the swap has come through, immediately PSG can respond. The wave in a relatively neutral state. Azhi's going to grab one more creep. Might just reset here as the TP already coming bot lane. paiN doing what they can to try to fight for a bit of a tempo advantage, but with both bottom lanes on the top side of the map, I imagine we'll have a bit of a scrap for grubs. PNG right now ahead on tempo overall.
Yep. Azhi. The one nice thing there was the ward spotting Lucian early did allow them to react a bit earlier, but Really curious to see now what happens with this grub spawn in about 30 seconds. If Lucian Nami can hold the prio, it would definitely allow them to think about grubs, but both junglers are on the bottom side of the map, so we might just be in a bit of a stalemate for a while where no objectives are taken.
Yeah, it's interesting. Maple pushing in this mid wave, likely to give him first move, although with level 6 there, dyNquedo certainly has a bit more kill pressure. And kind of when the bot lane swaps come out, I expected the junglers to stick around here to contest grubs, but it seems instead much more focused on that top lane 1v1, at least briefly, is now 2 seconds before the spawn comes out. JunJia is on the way up. They don't really have prio on the bottom side, and they're just now fighting for prio on the top side, so they should be able to start this, but it won't be, free and easy. There is room for paiN Gaming to contest here.
Yeah, there is also a teleport available for Azhi. He held it, so this is fairly free, and that's why I think paiN said, we're not messing with that. We're just going to take the Drake and be completely happy with this trade.
That said, giving, any grubs to a Tristana, even a nerfed Tristana,
True.
always can be a bit of a difficult prospect as safe champion on side lanes, can accrue those gold leads really rapidly, take through or shred through plates if given the chance. MF not the best tower taker. It's not a Jinx, so you're not as worried about the bot laner like our last series. But ward cleared out there, and you're gonna have to be really careful about approaching this tower.
Yeah, so it's likely at least 5 minions that are going to be denied. There's no one on with teleport up that can actually catch this wave. It's going to be a plate for them as well. So just very small, low-risk advantages being accumulated for PSG as of now. This whole draft, early game approach, the way they're playing is very low risk so far, yet still very effective for PSG.
Yeah, but it's crazy that they've... Oh, JunJia forced a flash.
It's okay.
Good look from paiN. They don't get much out of it. They get the flash. So if they can follow up in a future play, that's going to feel good. But for now, weren't able to get to the wave soon enough to catch all of those minions, and so not a hugely advantageous play. And else they can also get a follow-up somewhere else.
Yeah. I don't want to set, bad expectations, but I have a feeling of how this game is going to go right now.
Is it very slow, and then PSG big gold lead because Tristana on side lane just prints money? Yeah,
well, also, just based off of some of the games that I've seen from PSG, because of how good their macro can be, is even if it feels like we're going to be building up to this crescendo in this game, like, oh man, they're stacking Drakes, there are 2 Drakes, soul points coming up soon, and you're waiting for that climactic fight, like a lot of times, so Maple just pushes the Yone back. A lot of times they'll just get a pick on the side lane, and then you won't even see the climactic fight. That kind of feels like, I know it's really early, but that's the feeling that I have right now.
The Prophet. You've seen ahead.
I want to be wrong. Please be a bad call.
All right, we'll see if we get climactic 5v5 or random pick on side lane. Those are the 2 potential options.
And I'm feeling random pick on side lane.
I mean, last game wasn't random pick on side lane, but it was not full 5v5s most of the time. It was single picks to start things off. JunJia trying to stop the wave clear from coming up. I don't really think he has kill pressure here, but...
Yeah. Just making sure he has to recall, and he's also holding the wave for Maple. Good little Skarner things, building a small advantage on the Sejuani with his power farming so far. Delayed the recall just a hair, but probably going to mean 1 plate for the Trist. Again, just another really small thing, but that would increase their gold lead by, 20%, 200 more gold, and just slowly move them up towards victory.
Azhi pushing the wave in. Does he just walk ahead to proxy the next one? Does see the control ward there, but just opts to walk away. Maple coming up. No ulti, makes this a little bit difficult. Is he just here for the money? Oh, man. I love that move. Wizer now forced to ulti, getting lower and lower. The extra resistances do not matter. One more auto should finish the job, but they don't quite have the damage. Wizer now running forward. He knows he might have a chance to kill Maple, but he's got not a lot left. Good footwork. Baits Azhi into thinking he's going for the mid laner and instead jumps back to safety.
Okay, really nice play by Wizer there. Stalls it. This gives paiN time for a play on the bot side. Yone thinking about moving down. It would be a 4-for-3 dive.
Not confident. They don't have... The wave is just killed too quickly. dyNquedo a little bit late on the rotation, I think it's safe to say. Stops the play from taking place, but Betty going to step up anyway. Root hits. Sejuani ult not going to be leveraged. JunJia in the area. Slow coming in from that Make It Rain. So frustrating for PNG to deal with.
Yeah, just going to have to reset after that play. Maple lost a little bit of tempo in the mid lane. Will likely lose that plate right there. So Cannon does the last hit on it. And that roam the failure to get the kill really brings back about 400 to 500 gold overall to paiN's deficit. So Maple tried to push the tempo. Can't do that. Just keep farming the waves and getting plates in their own lane, apparently. I like the look, though. Just couldn't execute.
Yeah, didn't find the angle. Betty, Maple, both of the Coles, of course, getting a bit of extra money on top of slight advantages in CS, at least for Betty. Maple falling a little bit behind. That time he spent topside, as you highlighted.
6 scrubs. Might be 6 scrubs.
Is big, and paiN behind the play a little bit. Jack's likely going to push wave into tower. Betty has, or not Betty, excuse me, Maple has TP to respond if he wants to. Instead, we might see the 5v5. Woody getting things kicked off. Immediate Rumble ulti, but G1 uncontested on the side. Good calling initially to start things off, but they're only hitting the tankiest member of the team. Maple already starting to back away. First blood for the CB Law for paiN Gaming. They're only going to get 1 grub back, but a positive start.
And again, just really good micro from paiN. They played that fight extremely well. Maple was off the side of the fight for PSG, couldn't actually get the execute where paiN decided to, or where PSG decided to engage, couldn't finish it. And they not only prevent the 6 grubs, they also get the kill and get a small lead in the game.
Good things to have, see how they leverage it. And remember, this play really started with Wizer being able to push out the bottom wave. TP's top, now gets that wave as well.
Yeah.
So the Jack's getting accelerated in this game despite not being involved in the play.
So Sejuani flashes out early from the damage, and then Yone's counter-engage really just ends up one-shotting the Skarner. And if you can actually get into a team fight, as we see a shot from Brazil, I believe, with the viewing party going on there for the CB LoL. They have the advantage in this game right now, but they need to have those fights where they're just kind of in it. With the double melee soul lane plus Sejuani, it's a lot of flanking and hard engage that needs to happen for these fights to work, and they had it working in that fight.
And always nice when you pick a champion like the Jax to see him find that gold leech, TP it, get that kill, got some extra CS in the meantime, and Azhi ultimately not able to find a super effective Rumble ult in the context of that fight. As he gets closer to level 11, that might change as he starts to get closer to finishing that item as well. Leandry's, of course, important. PSG, they've already got 5 grubs now, at least showing presence around the Drake, but of course there's no waves here yet. Both waves in a neutral state, mid and bot lane, so PNG with better vision setup, with more members in the area, are free to start the objective.
I think they're just going to get it. Misfortune and Tristana are too far away, so that second Drake already secured for paiN. And in terms of first 13 minutes of the game, they're going to take these when you consider PSG is one of, if not the strongest rated teams heading into the play-in stage. And paiN, if you look at the CB LoL's performance lately, I mean, they won 1 game at MSI against a depleted GAM team. They were winless at last year's World Championship, so kind of anything beats the expectations for them, and they're looking like they could win this game if they continue to play well.
I would be really curious to see how the power rankings change if they win this game. 19th versus 52nd on a list, it feels like it's going to have impact. Even, and remember, it's not just for them, they're also playing for the rating of their region, right? How all, and it's not obviously just rating, it's also prestige for the CB LoL too. paiN Gaming, first chance in a long time to represent here, and thus far, not too bad. Despite initially looking like a game where PSG was going to be able to bleed them out, they've been able to find a couple angles of attack.
Yeah, we'll see with plates going down now how much the game opens up and whether they're able to actually make the correct roams. Because the trick here now, especially once you start seeing some outer turrets going down, is how well you can make your rotations to pull off plays on side lane. But they could maybe go for a flashless Maple. Just decide not to, though. They're going to kind of hold here where they're not at the disadvantage.
First items coming through for PSG. You know, see if any play is going to break out, but nerf BT. Obviously nerfed Kraken, but Kraken's been nerfed for quite some time. It was even nerfed on the playoffs with champions still building it.
I like the Heartsteel Skarner against the 3 melee champions as well. You can have the kind of more team-focused, not Heartsteel Skarner. Geez, I forget the name of the item. The Sejuani has it.
Instantly, gonna see that all. It's a quick pick. As we look away for about a moment, Betty's ult not able to do enough work as G1 and Kuri quick to clean up that kill. These Sejuani ults are really connecting.
Apologies there, looking at item names when there was a fight happening, but that's another
It was a second. It was a second of fight.
Should have seen it
came out of nowhere.
Going for more here.
JunJia just trying to walk the wall there, but we'll be all right. And again, these little picks starting to pay off. Still gold leads everywhere but top lane. for the side of PSG support, I'm just going to say, is not significant. But I think more and more pressure on Wizer to do some work on this Jax. You can see him just going into Azhi, has that Trinity Force completed, knows that he's powerful in those short trades.
And as the game progresses, if you're able to keep your CS up on Jax and not be forced to overgroup, you can start beating that Rumble and also the Tristana in side lane. So Wizer can absolutely be a force. It's just really tricky to be able to do that against really competent teams who can have snap engages on the rest of your team or get mid push and then threaten you on side lane. So basically, I think a lot of this game will be decided on the margins, like can Lucian Nami hold mid wave while the Jax is split pushing, and can paiN make plays after they have mid push and move.
I also want to see how much they can get out of the Skarner, because one of the things that Sejuani does really well is instantaneous engages. It's always a bit more of a delay for Skarner if he's not going to flash in. JunJia, nice knock up over the wall, sends the projectile through, but not himself, so doesn't really risk much of anything.
And Jack's free hitting on mid turret here right now, so pretty nice. When they have the 4v4, they're the ones getting free time on turret. Rumble was too afraid to free hit the top lane turret because he was worried about actually coming down for a fight. So little bits of turret damage. Teleport top lane and maybe break that turret as well.
Now the response, though, this is going to be very difficult for Wizer to hold. And the tower down top lane as well. Maple there to pick up that money, and PSG going to grab 2 towers. One will be traded back. So a bit of an awkward exchange overall. 1.5k gold lead now for the side of PSG. They obviously take towers much faster, and with the Tristana on side lane with 5 grubs, you can see how quickly that tier 2 is going to fall.
Really nice teleport there by Maple. Even though they weren't the first ones on the turret, they had a bigger wave, and they crashed 1.5 turrets top lane as well as killing the mid lane turret. I think a small mistake there by paiN, resetting basically everyone from the bottom lane instead of moving it up towards the mid lane, because that would have likely meant they could defend the mid turret and then probably take the mid turret as well. But let's see if they can get this on the bounce back.
Might end up being about pressure for Drake instead. Betty here to cover. Red buff the BT shield allows him the safety to just walk up, clear this wave. paiN Gaming hovering to the bottom side. They've already got 2 Drakes. Infernal Soul on the table. Only, of course, would be their 3rd, but ever closer, putting PSG in a position where eventually they probably are going to just have to fight the full 5v5. paiN Gaming not afraid to just use their man advantage, walk in, fight for that vision. They saw Maple bot, they see Azhi top, they know they're favored. Betty, though, fearless, just continues to step up here.
Would be a soul point fight, so it's very crucial for the overall outcome of this game how well PSG can clear out this mid wave and approach. Getting that control ward is really crucial. They control this bush and river because it means paiN doesn't have a great way to flank, especially that control ward up towards the red buff as well. That's where the Yone or the Jax is going to want to approach from.
Jax going around the corner. Have they marked the ward in the brush? Looks like the answer is yes. Hovering off to the side. Rumble now coming in. Objective JunJia immediately going to try to kick things off. A lot of burst used on the Skarner to little effect thus far. JunJia with flash, with smite. Objective in their sights, bursting it down. They get the objective. PSG have a wave to play on, but can only push it out and walk away. Patience, discipline coming in from paiN Gaming, that exchange.
Still deathless, 19 minutes into their first Worlds game against the #1 seed in the PCS. Really love the patience that paiN is playing with. There definitely a few moments where maybe they're giving away a little bit too much turret gold, but getting 3 Drakes only 19 minutes in, and then also getting enough damage down on a Skarner that he's unwilling to actually go in with the rest of the team. They're putting on a pretty great showing for Game 1 here at Worlds.
Definitely are. And you talked about, hey, the Heartsteel can feel so good against these 3 melee champions, but JunJia's just not getting any stacks. He can't get into a fight. They're not scrapping at all. So an item that he purchased early, that he prioritized, while we'll still give that little bit of burst, he's not getting that additional value of the scaling HP. And we'll see if that hurts him in the fights, because Jax just continues to scale up. Cheetan getting stronger, dyNquedo with the Blade of the Rune King, which is so good on these melee champions, means a lot of these tankier health bars, Woody and JunJia especially, aren't going to be nearly as effective as they might have been against different opposition.
Yeah, and you can see this is paiN Gaming's year-long chart, essentially, improving throughout the year, nearly winning the spring playoffs, getting just over the edge in the summer playoffs, even though they weren't the #1 team in the regular season. And I think once the Stride Breaker gets completed by the Yone as well, like that's when he really turns on, and if he ever gets on to Misfortune or Tristana, can really do a lot of damage. But until then, they just need to keep holding sideways with Jax, not getting picked off in the mid game here and just waiting this 3.5 minutes until they can potentially get Infernal Soul.
There's no pressure on them to do anything too crazy, right? But I will say, I watched a lot of paiN Gaming. Sometimes they go for the aggressive play. I've watched them 50-50 a Baron when they were already winning somewhere else on the map, and it worked for them. But that didn't make it right, Jatt. So I'm a little nervous. It's going to require a level of discipline that they have shown thus far this game, but they have to keep a cool head as we get later and later into this game one.
Yeah, and as we're at 20 minutes now, 1 pick or 2 picks could mean Baron and a complete swing on this game, so you got to be a little bit extra cautious without losing the amount of, I guess, aggression or boldness it takes to push the right side wave. Like, at this instance, Jax is not pushing anywhere, so they're really hard committing onto this mid lane, and it just gets cleared away by an MF ult.
Might see the pick, though. Ulti going to be used. JunJia really has nowhere to go. Finds the initial stun. Forced to flash out. It's going to make any potential contest of the next objective that much harder. Skarner, of course, can go through the wall, but Flash the most reliable way to get into the pit, whether it's Dragon or Baron.
Yeah, especially needing maybe a Flash to flip the Infernal Drake. So even though it cost paiN 2 ultimates, it's not like PSG is setting anywhere else on the map up where they can fight. So paiN isn't worried about those 2 ultimates whatsoever. They're gonna be back fairly quickly as everyone resets after that play.
Wizer just keeps getting scarier and scarier. This is not...
No, this isn't what I expected. I feel like we had all that time to set the expectations about PSG being, you know, maybe the best team in play-in.
Woody, history.
Their global power rankings, 12 years at Worlds.
But that's the thing I love about Worlds is sometimes, you know, you DRX it. No one expects it, and you just show up and you start kicking people around.
Yeah. The weird thing about this game, though, is PSG is like 2,000 gold up.
But it doesn't feel like they're winning the game, which is crazy.
Because they have no kills. It's all explainable, but it's still weird.
That's it. They are getting mid push out first. They are setting up now on the top side of the map. Maybe since these second item spikes are coming through, they're feeling more confident to start to fish for these plays. And they are powerful. They just have yet to find that circumstance where they can really leverage their advantage. Initial pick onto JunJia. They know that he has no flash. That Skarner ult is doing, or excuse me, the Rumble are doing a decent amount of work. Skarner now making his way out. JunJia trying to follow up, taking the jungle out of the equation. Immediate snap back under for JunJia. He will not drop. We're in trouble now too. Wizer in the midst of everybody, but a perfect input buffer from Maple means he will walk away. PNG, what can they get off of that pick?
Well, they could think about Baron, but they might just get the mid turret as Sejuani and Nami are both recalling. And we got some chance here in the studio for a potential upset game 1 win by paiN. 43 seconds on this next Drake. Everyone's going to reset and set up for this.
And the start here, again, PSG feel like they're in a decent position.
Yeah.
But the confidence from Cariok to just force this, knowing JunJia does not have the flash.
A little bit crazy when you think about maybe a potential game-deciding moment could be over this red buff, yet that's here we are. And it's about the Yone getting the flank over the wall that can finish the execution on the Skarner, but also stop any of the actual damage following through to the rest of the team.
I love the arms up, just walking slowly to the screen. That one's my favorite. Both in Brazil and here in Berlin. paiN getting a lot of love. And I'll say that one of the picks that feels really good here is Nami, and not in the context of Lucian Nami, but against the MF, because you see the tidal wave thrown out early. That initial overcommit into that choke point could have killed them, but the tidal wave says for the next 3 to 4 seconds, you cannot get ult.
Lucian?
And now Chitan doing good damage on Maple. JunJia trying to follow up, flash over the wall, tidal wave not doing much, but JunJia now forced to walk away. Soul. What is important here? PSG, can they get into the pit? JunJia has the E. He should be able to get to the wall if he wants to, but PSG trying to play through the bottom side. Immediate stun now coming in. That's the ultimate. They get it! Infernal Soul for paiN Gaming in game 1. Now a quick retreat. PSG desperate to find a fight, desperate to force something back.
I mean, this is a pretty big lead now that the Soul has been acquired. The next time they fight, they're going to be that much more powerful. They're just buying a little bit of time to make sure they're healthy. They might fight right here.
JunJia going for the wall. The knockup not going to hit. Azhi taking a decent chunk of damage. Not sure if they get the arm guard or the Zonya's there, but either way, highly impactful in the fights to come. Knowing that Rumble doesn't have ulti either, JunJia just continues to fish with these knockups. JunJia is so squishy against these champions. The tank jungler, not tanky at all. PNG continuing to find picks. 5-0 the kill score in their favor.
They have a lot of gold in inventory, but with the enemy jungler down, they might go straight for Baron. Oh no, he's interrupted!
Woody, pick off to the side. JunJia should just knock. We're getting knocked down here.
He was planning on teleporting straight back in, but now we have a fight.
In, immediate ult, the stun not going to connect. Nice knockback coming in from Maple. But Betty now going to be the one in trouble. Cheaton on the front line, so much damage coming through. PSG being pushed back into enemy territory. They need to find a way out of this one. Cariok going over the wall. Knock up there, another member falling. PNG say, all right, good deal. We'll just turn right back to the objective. We'll take our time.
Lead only gets bigger. They finally, I mean, surely they have to reset at some point. 1,000 gold on Titan's Lucian. He is looking so good in this game. Going all the way back to the very start of that Infernal Soul fight. His flank on the side, which takes Maple to about 5% health. Potentially a game-winning, confident move. Finally able to get back to base. A little desynced on the recalls is going to delay their redeploy to maybe go for this Baron, but they are so strong at this point that they are in control of this game.
I mean, Jax having second item right now is so impactful for the fight. He's not going to go down quickly. He's going to force an ult out of Maple to keep the backline safe. It's really for the side of PSG. We talked about it was going to be teamfight a random pick in the side lane. The answer is neither. It's going to be PNG in total control, Jatt. And right now, Betty's ult, the potential for a combo here feels like PSG's angle out, but it's so difficult to set up when they're so far behind. And when paiN Gaming are playing with such confidence, instantly punishing JunJia. Over the wall. Wizer now coming in. Quick stun. Ulti not even going to come through. paiN Gaming, they got the pick they wanted. Jungler out of the equation. Not a 50-50 anymore. Baron belongs to them.
PSG just can't fight back. paiN's been completely relentless. Tristana was pushing mid. There's no one that's able to re-engage to help the Skarner. And now they're on Baron with no smite. They could finish or they could peel early.
Betty's ult is going to be big here, but Kuri has ult as well. Can just throw it in. JunJia poking. Objective low, but there's no smite. Cariok doesn't have smite.
Oh, geez.
This is, oh no. Not like this. Not like this, paiN Gaming.
Oh my goodness.
Don't do your namesake justice. Brazil does better than you engage. Now coming in, Taylor going to get over the wall, but keep driving to the Baron. Baron getting lower, doesn't matter. Betty, take it out. PNG, shut down. The smite, just in time. Coming out, but Cheaton is clutch. It might have been messy, but when it matters, he stands up.
Just like they drew it up. Let's bait PSG into the Baron pit. Let's get the smite. They only lose one, and they secure the Baron. Drakos, this 15-second staring match with Baron at 1600 and no smite was crazy. Yone can't even get out the back of the pit. Sejuani seems like he's going to die. Yone sacrifices his life for it, but then the smite actually comes up as the next Baron auto literally would have killed the Sejuani, and then Titan, just absolute beast mode at the end of that fight. I love it. It's world, baby.
I didn't expect we'd see this kind of banger on day one. I thought we'd ease into it, but we're starting strong here.
That was a mid-game hug.
That pop-off, you can see his arm shaking. That's adrenaline. That man hyped up.
6-0-6 so far on this Lucian in game one. They do need to close this game out. They would then also need to beat them again.
Yeah, but remember that while this composition from the side of PSG feels a little bit outdated in the context of the patch notes.
Absolutely.
They're undefeated on it domestically. This is the definition of comfort. And yet this entire game has not looked comfortable for PSG outside of the first 5 minutes. Credit to paiN Gaming. Look at that win probability. It's not 100. It'll never 100% hit 100 until they end the game, but it's about as close as it can get. They are so favored in these exchanges. PSG, can they mount that comeback? Can they turn this around? They don't have control of anything on the map right now. They don't have Infernal backing them up. Betty is powerful though. 2.5 items, a good ulti, someone caught out, maybe they can get something done, but JunJia, this is where it's really hard to be the Skarner. You don't have that dash in, dash out luxury that a Sejuani does. The ulti not as reliable, the CC not as reliable. Feels so bad to fall behind as this champion, and now he's just sitting there getting poked. He can't do anything about Cheaton just walking up and hitting him. Now Cariok looking to get things started. Ulti coming out from the MF, but JunJia just goes in, disrupts the play.
Okay, Jax needs to crash the mid turret as well, but it's fine. The cannon minion is still just slowly chipping away on that tier 2 turret. Gold lead is extending. I mean, at this point, paiN just need to be patient as they have been throughout this entire game. The Lucian has enough range that he can kill these turrets. The Baron is going to help them extend their gold lead. It's probably going to end up going to Elder just because they are generally a short-range team that needs the other team to walk out so they can engage.
PSG are a 6K Baron power play, but there's a part in my brain right now that's always just anxious and scared, right? And that anxious, scared
sure.
part looks at that Elder Drake and
Is
says...
it because the Baron almost killed Sejuani? Is that why?
that definitely flared up there, but all I will say is Elder is the great equalizer, and as much as you can have a 10K gold lead, if someone steals an Elder with 4 members on their team still alive, that team fight gets a lot more even.
And here we go. I think they're going to fight before Elder.
JunJia, again, just going to get picked off here. paiN Gaming, eyes on their perfect target. Now, Wizer stepping in. Quick pick on Azhi as well. He goes golden, but for what? He's just delaying the inevitable. paiN Gaming, they don't even need the Elder. Just stepping near it is enough to bait in PSG. The TP's now coming through as well. The Jax is damn powerful, but this is a confident move. Jatt goes in. 1-2 punch there. 80 carrying top lane together. Betty, there's just nothing they can do. Maple down for the count. paiN Gaming in game 1 for a few minutes looked like PSG had it figured out. Like it might be an inevitable conclusion that they'd be able to outplay. But after those few minutes, paiN Gaming finding the picks, finding the kills, finding the setup, their patience paying off. Playing better in game 1, pick after pick, objective after objective. paiN Gaming make the upset happen in game 1, even if they lose someone to the fountain.
And Drakos, a dominant game 1 was expected. What wasn't expected is that it would be paiN doing the domination. What a shocker here in game 1 as PSG have to walk off stage with a loss and regroup, now having to win 2 games in a row against the CB LoL. What a game 1 performance.
And this is a moment where if you're a PCS fan, you're hoping that that was just some comfort and they didn't want to show anything in terms of game 1 draft. And there's something else cooking for them because you're grasping onto straws. That should not have been possible, but paiN Gaming made it happen. We're going to head to a quick break.